everybody, Mark here from Thailand Connect. Welcome to today's episode. I have the honour and privilege of speaking with Josh Ruff from Rimvo over in Toronto, Canada. This is our very first international guest, which is I'm wondering why it's taken so long, but that's okay. We're there. We're sort of 22 episodes deep, and we get to welcome an international star on our show today, which is awesome. So, Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and honored to be the first international guest, I have to say.
Mate, absolutely. Mate, we're honoured to have you here, and can't wait to sort of deep dive into yourself and Rimvo today, and Leap Tools, and find out more about what you guys do. And mate, yeah. So look, I'm going to pass the baton over to you, mate, and get you to share as much as you can about yourself and what it is you do and the company that you work for.
Cool. So I'm Josh Ruff. I'm our VP of Revenue here at Rimvo, and so a lot of people ask what that is. I'm really responsible for our sales, customer success teams, strategy, direction of the business, and things like that. So really focusing on growth of the business, making sure our customers are happy, and all those types of things. And so a little bit of background on me: I've been here for close to 3 years. I've spent 10 years in tech prior to here in the startup world, and so I've been here for close to 3 years. I was around employee number 40. We're north of 200 now, and so really been part of a new industry, but really just building a really strong team and company, and it's an exciting new industry for me as well.
Yeah, man, that's pretty cool. Like going from 40 to 200 is a pretty big jump. You mentioned that you've been in tech for 10 years. What was the life like before tech?
Yeah, so I started my career in sales. So I actually worked at Xerox. I did large enterprise sales for a good portion of my career, and got to the point where I felt like I was in a box. I felt like I could contribute so much more to a company. It's like, okay, this is what you say, and this is what you pitch. And I really felt like I was kind of, limited in terms of like what I could offer a company. So I actually really wanted to work in a startup. I'm a huge foodie, so I specifically was like, you know what, I actually want to work in the food startup space. And so a lot of people don't know Uber Eats, which I know is in Australia. Foodora used to be a company that was there, and so I actually launched Foodora in Canada, funny enough. And then
Wow.
Uber Eats, a lot of people don't know Uber Eats actually started in Toronto as well. And so I was in the B2C kind of consumer delivery space for 2.5, 3 years. Loved everything about it. Incredibly challenging, problem solving. You had to be on your feet all the time. Think on your feet, and just a really stimulating environment. I really enjoyed it. And so from there, I went to another food startup, more in the corporate catering space. It was called Platters, and we did a lot of the facilitating of food orders for a lot of the major technology companies: Shopify, Twitter, Uber. A lot of those big companies actually provide food to their employees every day. And so I was there for another 2.5 years. Similar situation as I am today. I was about employee number 40. Helped really scale that business, and then COVID happened, and obviously office catering basically became non-existent. So I had met our CEO, Pavel, previously, and we connected over the summer, I guess the first summer of COVID, and he just asked, are you interested in working outside of food? That's what I had done for 6 years. And I said, you know what, I'm not so married to food. I love working with people. I love building things. I love technology. And so that's really what brought me to Rimvo, and I was totally new to the industry. And so obviously had the experience in terms of technology and sales and startups and those types of things, but ventured into the world of, flooring and tile and all those different things. And so,
Wow.
It's been a wild journey. I've learned a ton. A lot of people say once you get in this industry, it's really hard to get out. And so here I am 3 years later, wondering, if this is it for life, but it's been awesome so far.
Man, that's a very cool journey. It sounds as though we've had some massive casualties along the way during COVID. Whenever I have a conversation with someone, it's like there's the next thing that disappeared, and we've had our fair share of issues here in Australia with the home delivery food services. Where I think we've lost a few. I think Fedora's gone now.
Fedora is gone. I was there when it pulled out of Australia, actually, so very familiar.
Oh, were you? Yeah, it's it literally, I think Uber Eats is about the only one that has survived, and whether or not they're hanging on by a thread, I'm not sure, but Yeah, we had some local ones here as well. There was a famous chef, I think, I can't remember his name, but he was in Sydney and he started a food delivery service on that exclusive premium offering of
Yeah.
restaurant quality 5-star dining, like Michelin type stuff, and delivering that to people during COVID. And it was really, really successful for a couple of years. But then once the doors opened, it was just a downward spiral. People, didn't find a need for it anymore because, of course, being human beings, we love interaction, right? So we love to be in front of other people and shake hands and hug and, cheers a glass. It's all that sort of stuff that we love doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing that too. That's obviously for us, I'm sure we'll get into it, but yeah, like digital was so important a few years ago. It still is, but again, a lot of people thought the growth from COVID was going to stay, and the buyer behavior that we've seen over the last couple of years was going to stay. But we're humans, right? People want to get out, they want to interact with people, they want to get out and about, and so yeah, you've kind of seen that shift go back a little bit, and I guess that's just human nature, right? It's hard to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's in our DNA, and you can't take it away from us.
Yeah, exactly, right.
No, that's awesome, mate. So sales is a big part of your background. I was, found that through doing some research, and like, what is it that you love about sales most? What's the sort of what really drives you with that part of everything you do?
I mean, it's the cheesy answer, but it's the reality. I think I just enjoy talking to people. It's just, solving problems and all those types of things. But if you really boil it down to its most simple form, it's like I just really enjoy working with people and helping them, solve problems and things like that. It always comes back to the people.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a job where I would not interact with people every day, right? It's just like part of my DNA. And I think there's just like this inherent feeling a lot of people get into sales because, yeah, it's like there's the monetary benefit and all those things. But for me, it always comes back to, it's like there's just that great feeling when not just win a deal, but like you win a deal and help someone solve their problem. I think that's incredibly rewarding for everyone across the board. And I just think generally too, like the problem solving, you got to think on your feet. Like it's a really just type of stimulating. And it's also involved in every area of a business. I think a lot of people forget that. They think, hey, you're in sales, you're a salesperson, you're selling something, but sales skills translate to everywhere, right? Like how do you ask difficult questions? How do you ask discovery questions? Like how do you really understand the other person on the other side? And that applies to so many areas of just life in general, where you think of customer success, right? Like you've got to be, willing to ask questions to really understand what the customer's trying to get and all those things. And so there's so many layers of sales.
Yeah.
I think it's also served me very well in my career, and it's a great skill set that's provided a huge amount of benefit. And I mean, it's just not part of my personality too. I also love talking to people. So
yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, I can feel that today during our conversation and our warm up as well. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like you're the same too. I feel like you just like talking to people. Obviously, this is what you do, but you get it, right?
Yeah. Connecting in and networking with people is really important. You learn so much from other humans, right? And whether you're in Toronto, Canada, or you're in India or wherever, it doesn't matter. It's pretty cool. Yeah, enjoy it. And I've been in sales very much the same as well. It's one of those industries where when you're connecting with people and you're offering a solution to something that the people have a problem, and you've got something that's going to help them get through that and make it through to the other side and be very successful at whatever they do.
Yeah, and it's it's really rewarding when you talk to someone. You talk to a customer, you haven't talked to them in 6 months or whatever it is, like someone you quote, and it's you when it's a good sale and you do things the right way, like it's really rewarding. You see that person again, or you stay in touch. It's like, hey, you know what? Like that relationship maintains, and that's also something that's also incredibly rewarding, right? It's not just the instant gratification. It's like that ongoing, relationship management and relationship building as well.
Yeah.
Many layers to it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, mate, look, enough about us. Well, enough about me. More about you. But I want to find out more about Roomvo and Leap Tool. So, tell us more about the product. Give us a bit more of a look in at that.
Yeah. So we essentially are a visualization tool. So essentially, what we do is allow a consumer to take a photo of their home and see what a product looks like in their space. And you can really think of a ton of different ways this can be applied to any type of product. So we cover flooring, wall covering, so paint, tile, we do wallpaper, we do rugs, like really any type of surface in the DIY space you can think about.
Yeah,
The whole
wow.
concept is allow someone to see, kind of, we always say everyone deserves a beautiful home is kind of our vision. And so it's really giving people access to, an interior designer is incredibly challenging for some people to afford. It's like making it accessible to everyone to be able to really see what their home can look like. And then so, when you think about kind of commercial applications, if you're a manufacturer, if you're a retailer, like really enabling those tools and, assisting consumers make faster purchasing decisions, help them guide them through that journey of, product selection, inspiration, all of those different types of things. So at a high level, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you the space that you work in. I worked for I worked for a tile company here in Australia called National Tiles a long time ago. Back in, I think it was 2013 was when I joined the business in Melbourne, and National Tiles had their own visualizer back then. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like the infancy stage of this technology. I know that the CEO, the CEO then and founder of the business had people working on it full time within the business, but it was I wouldn't say it was clunky, but it was just they seem to always be having challenges with getting things working the way that it should work. And I'm
Yeah.
not like, it was that particular business worked alongside us in the business. So I worked in a sales role, so I wasn't really in touch with it, but we had it in a few of the shops. And yeah, so I imagine the technology's like light speed ahead now in terms of what its capability is.
It's come a long way. We have a couple customers in Australia. So Beaumont Tiles is one. Miss Amara is a pretty big rug company. They're a customer of ours as well. And so it's come a long way. We've heard that there are companies who have tried to do it on their own and things like that, but it's number of challenges. One, it's like running its own business, right? It's this thing that evolves over time. You need to be continually updating it, continuously managing it. So it's not like hey, we built this thing and now it's going to work in perpetuity, right? It requires maintenance. It requires so many individual skills and specialization. And so it has absolutely come a long way. A huge focus for us is always on how do we make this thing as easy to use as possible. Snap a photo. And so we are always investing in how can we do a better job of identifying surfaces? So, is it picking up all of the floor? Is it picking up all of the walls? And then adding more and more products in there. So from a consumer standpoint, if I'm visualizing the tiles on my wall, you know what, I might want to put a new flooring down, or I might be doing that as part of my renovation. So we're always focused on how can we continue to provide additional value to the end consumer. But the overarching theme is it needs to be as easy and fast to use as possible. Because if someone has, you think about, you get an email or you go to sign up for a platform and ask for your email address, right away, most people won't even put their email address anymore. So really, it's like, how can we create as little friction as possible, make this thing as simple to use as possible? Because we know people are inherently lazy. I hate to say it, but any additional steps is like less and less use. So we're really focused on ease of use, speed, accuracy is really our focus. And then in terms of the quality of the visualization, it's come, just for us, we've been in business for 5 years, from where we were a year ago to where we are now. Even it's pretty significant in terms of improvements on, how close to realism are we getting, and it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, look, I saw a bit of augmented reality the other week. I've got a day job, of course, right? So one of the companies that we work with, IQ Power Tools, has started to get into AR, and they've got a guy working for them who recently started. I think he joined the team earlier this year, and I met up with him in Vegas in February, and he was talking about the augmented reality, and now they actually have the power tools on this 3D on your phone. You can do a complete flip. You can put it on your wall. You can have a look at it. It's just incredible. So if you were wanting to see the tool and what the parts look like or anything like that at all, you could actually just bring it up on your phone in seconds. And it's so real. It's incredible.
Yeah. Technology has, even in the last 12 months, right? You look at like the buzzwords of ChatGPT and like all the AIs, it's like even the next 12 to 24 months, we'll see such big advancements. There's always that hardware limitation, which is, you think about things like VR, and we get asked similar questions. Like we don't do AR. A lot of people ask why, and there's a big barrier to entry, right? You have to download an app on your phone, for example. And so how many people are going to download an app? And so we kind of get back to that thing of there's a lot of these bright, shiny objects, right? There's like VR, and someone can design their home in virtual reality, but it's back to this piece. It's like, is that really easy to use? And is someone going to invest the time, the money, and the hardware? Does someone just want to be able to take a photo, sit on their couch, and be able to browse through products? And so it's this delicate balance, right? Between you got to stay at the forefront of the technology and what's out there, but you also have to kind of layer in this, understanding of how people work and human psychology, and is someone going to actually go buy a VR headset to renovate their home? Like, probably not, right? Not today anyway. So
no. Exactly.
There's a lot of really cool stuff coming out that there's no question about it, and we'll look to optimize and use some of that stuff to our advantage. But again, our kind of North Star is always ease of use, and from a business standpoint, like speed to conversion. How quickly can someone see that product in their home, be like, you know what, that's it. That's really kind of our North Star.
Yeah, well, 100%. And you're on the money. Like, it's all about that speed to conversion, and how good is the product, and how quickly can the customer visualize what they're intending on purchasing, and how quickly can they get their credit card out and go, yeah, I'm happy with that. That's what I want. Want to pay for it today, and sort that out. Yeah. Mate, so we were playing around with this before. Have you got an example of the program you can share with us and give us a bit of a look in?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely can. So I'll do a quick screen share here. Give me a second here. I'll show two examples. So the first one I'm going to show is Beaumont tiles, which people probably know super well.
Nice.
I'll kind of take it a step back. This is the landing page. You have two options. Option number one is you can look at a preset room scene. Everyone's probably very, very familiar with these. Couple interesting data points. About 80% of our users will actually upload a photo of their own room versus looking at a preset room.
That's a pretty cool option.
Yeah. In terms of number of product views, if someone looks at a preset room scene, they're going to look at anywhere from 4 to 5 products. If someone uploads a photo of their own house, we're looking at 16 to 20. So massive increase in terms of engagement when someone uploads their own photo. I am uploading a photo of my kitchen, which we're going to see. It automatically, actually, I'm just going to remove this. This is what it looked like before, but you'll notice I automatically placed a product on the floor. So if I were to be looking at a flooring product and I click on a button and say, see this in my room, it's going to automatically place that product on the floor. So I'll go back. You can see my flooring is highlighted here. I'm going to actually put a tile on the floor, and you're going to notice instantaneously that product is put on my floor.
Yeah, wow.
You'll
I'm
also
not a fan.
notice.
I'm not a fan of the color, but
no, you don't like it. Design is not my expertise. It's not bad.
No, it's okay.
You'll also notice I pick up all the walls here too, and actually different instances. So say I wanted to put on a backsplash.
Yeah.
Tell me you like this design. This one you gotta like. Here we go.
Yeah.
I can change different sizes.
Wow.
And so really I can start to get a vision of like, what is this? What are these products or combination of products or products look like in my home? We can do things like add to cart, order sample. And again, really the whole concept is seeing a product in your space and you see how quickly it looks. You upload it, automatically detects your surfaces. We're able to flip through products really quickly.
Yeah, that's incredible. The technology is definitely way more advanced than what I saw back in 2013.
It's come a long way, right?
Yeah. Particularly, I think one of the biggest requests we had back then, and I remember having a conversation with some internal people about this, was the ability to be able to load your own photos, upload your own photos. Yeah. That was huge, and that technology back then wasn't available.
Yeah, and so the magic of the technology is obviously the ability to upload your own room and identify these surfaces, right? It's really, really challenging.
Yeah.
And so that's where you see most companies struggle, right? If they're trying to do it in-house. I think there is I don't know if people underestimate, but it's a really specialized, like challenging technology to build, and not only build but maintain, right? So uh, we think about for us, like how do we continuously evolve this product over time, right? So we've got floors, we've got walls, countertops, paint, and so how do you? We kind of go back to this piece where, say, you were a flooring company, you just build a flooring visualizer. The consumer is going to want, I kind of touched on this earlier, is going to want to is going to go where they can visualize more products. So say they're doing a home renovation. They go to one site, they're going to visualize their flooring. They're going to have to go to another site because they want to visualize the paint on their wall. And then they have to go to another one to do countertops. And so the consumer is going to want to go where they can do more products, obviously, and visualize more of kind of what their space looks like. So that's where we're continuously investing out. You sell tile, maybe you don't sell paint, but you know what? Your customer might want to see what that tile is going to look like with a new paint color, right? So it's adding these new surfaces because the consumers want that, right? They want more, and they want to get a vision, a more encompassing vision of what everything's going to look like. So that's where we obviously benefit when you look at outsourcing, looking at a tool like ours. We're always evolving, we're always adapting, and kind of bringing the latest and greatest. We're a SaaS-based company too, so our customers always have the latest and greatest technology. If we add a new, we upgrade our ability to, the quality of our visualizer. We actually just launched a high resolution visualizer. Well, now you're able to visualize in 4K. Like those updates just go to our existing customers. So it's kind of you're investing in the platform and not so much the tool at one specific period in time.
Yeah, right. And look, I mean, with this sort of technology, how do you think this would best benefit a tile contractor?
Great question. So I'll actually jump to a second screen share. And so we talked about, originally we talked kind of in the context of like, hey, you're shopping for a product. And again, think of how is a product going to look like in my home? And so I'm actually going to share. And so you've got the product, but what about how that product is going to be laid out in your space? Different pattern layouts. Do you want the floor to run horizontal, vertical? So I'm actually looking at another customer of ours. I picked this example because they have really complicated layouts. And so I picked the product I like. I'm putting it on the wall.
Wow.
I can actually look at different pattern layouts. So
That's cool.
Quite complicated in terms of different pattern layouts, but maybe I wanted to do a chevron. Maybe I wanted to do just, a standard layout. Maybe I wanted to rotate. This actually lets me see what the product is going to look like under different configurations in my space. So not only does this help with more of the inspiration and color, but on the installation side, how do you actually want these things laid out in your space? And so really, you can kind of apply the visualization really anywhere from purchase to installation, all the way through from kind of top to bottom of that kind of journey of the customer.
Yeah, I imagine that would be hugely beneficial. I know earlier on in my career in tile and stone, a lot of the challenges that we had was getting the information from when the customer was dealing with the designer to transform into language that the contractor would understand, and then the tiles would get laid correctly, whether they be floor, wall, internal, external, it didn't matter, because there's obviously different ways to lay tiles in terms of patterns and formats and things like that. And no word of a lie, probably 3 or 4 out of 10, would get done incorrectly. And it would be, then there would just be this ongoing argument and fight between the contractor and the customer about, well,
who's going to pay for it, right? Who's paying for the fix?
Yeah, that's right. That's not what I wanted. This is how I wanted it. Yeah, but you didn't communicate that. So how do I know? But you didn't ask the question. So it's just this back and forth. This certainly would remove all of that guesswork.
I'm just going to turn my share off there. There we go. Yeah. So again, like we really try to apply visualization in a bunch of different places on a manufacturer's website, on a retailer's website, contractor, installer. There's so many different applications of the tool, and people don't really think about kind of at surface level. You kind of just think, like you said, you just think about hey, what does it look like? And a lot of people don't think of, hey, on the installation piece, this is also super valuable, right? Too. And
Yeah.
one of the jobs of laying tile incorrectly is a pretty costly mistake, right? So it's pretty compelling case to use visualization kind of everywhere to make sure a customer's getting exactly what they were expecting, right?
Yeah. Look, I think the other thing to that too is if you're a newer contractor to the industry or to the business and you're trying to make your way through the minefield of acquiring new work, this is one of those things that you could attach to your quoting mechanism. So when you're going out and seeing Mr. and Mrs. Jones and having a look at the tiling work that they want done, if they're unsure about what they're doing, well, you could actually literally just pull that up on a Mac or a PC when you're there and just go, hey, look, let's just sit down and have a quick look at it now, and get. I imagine that Beaumont's the access to this is online.
100%. It's on.
Yeah.
So Beaumont's a great example on their site. If you're shopping for products,
Yeah.
I'll actually show you. So Beaumont's a great example. If I go back, here we go. My share up there.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So I'm on a product page for Beaumont right now. I've got a
Nice.
craft weight gloss.
Yeah.
You'll notice here to see this in my room and see this tile in your room button. So say I'm just shopping for products on their site, even if if I'm a contractor that uses Beaumont tile, whatever it might be, you can search and browse products. And this is where you see this right down here, see this tile in your room button. Yeah. That's going to load up the visualizer. And then if I take, again, use that same photo, that exact product I was looking at is going to be automatically placed on that surface, right? So it's a great way if you're an installer, and I'm not sure what you see kind of in the Australian market, but here in North America, the installers actually drive a lot of the product selections. I know myself, when we went through a renovation, we actually found our contractor first. And funny enough, when I did a home renovation, while I was actually talking to Leap Tools / Roomvo, and our contractor, where he buys his tile from, actually was a Roomvo customer, and he actually was like, hey, go check it out. Here's your visualizer. So I actually used the visualizer through one of our clients, and it was actually the contractor is the one that actually made suggestions on product and showed us the visualizer. So it was pretty interesting. I mean, timing was pretty darn good for me too, and I just got introduced to it all kind of at once, and so I saw the value kind of firsthand, because you get that little square and you put it on your backsplash, and it's like, is this going to look good? It's still really hard to envision it, and so it was being used by the contractor. Or our tile installer is actually how I was introduced to it. So
yeah, look, I think that's one thing I find very funny about our markets. I mean, we're obviously just a tiny new country, right? Australia, we're 26 million people. We're only 200, just over 200 years old, and we don't have the history of some of the international countries. And what I find is that here we're very much built on just getting in there and getting the work done, and we don't think too much about. Well, in the past, we haven't thought too much about the design concept and things like that. So I know a lot of the design work for a lot of the major builders is done in showrooms with customers. However, there is this emergence of tile contractors who are very social media savvy, very Instagram savvy, very TikTok savvy, that are really using those platforms as a showcase piece for the work that they do. And you can just see that they've got really, really deep involvement with the client in terms of helping them craft what it looks like. You just have to type tiling into Instagram, and the images that come up of some of the work around the world are incredible. And I'm obviously connected in with the Australian component of that. And I'm sort of very proud of the work that these guys are doing. It's so different today than what it was a decade ago. Like a decade ago, guys were just putting down 450 by 450 size tiles on floors, and there might have been 6 colors, and there wasn't really a lot to it. And the evolution of tiling has really become back into that craftsmanship, which is an excellent place to be.
Do you have a trade shortage in Australia? It's pretty common in North America to have a pretty big trade shortage. Yeah, there's a huge push to get more young people in the industry, but I was curious if it was similar there, where a lot of young people aren't moving into trades as much as they used to.
No, definitely not. We certainly had the issue pre-COVID. We had an issue where we just didn't have enough skilled workers and enough people doing particular trades. and COVID just amplified that tenfold. So yeah, there is a great need now to encourage that at the grassroots level to get people into the industry. But yeah, as you know, apprenticeships are 3-4 years. And then on top of the apprenticeships, you've got, years of experience that you want them to acquire as well. So it is very hard. And we've got, all sorts of building challenges over here with major builders going bust. And yeah, it's a bit of a minefield. And on top of all of that, I think we're about 200,000 homes short than what we need today that aren't built.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a perfect storm.
Yeah, I think we're quite similar to you guys, anyways, in terms of country size and history, and I think we do deal with some similar challenges. We're in a similar situation here too, right? Like housing shortage, no question about it.
Yeah.
Housing prices are through the roof, and so people are like, you know what, is demand going to drop, especially in like the DIY space? But there's still a housing shortage, pretty significant one too. So yeah, interesting to see the next few years how things kind of pan out, but.
Yeah, that's the one thing that we found here is that if you talk to any contractor, not only in tiling, if you talk to any contractor, they've got at least 3 to 6 months worth of work guaranteed up their sleeve, because people are prepared to wait, particularly for quality workmanship, and that cycle will continue over and over again in the future, because we're still faced with that material shortage, labor shortage. It's interesting, though, that the interest rates keep going up, but they're not really having a lot of impact. It's just like you just keep making it tougher for us to buy things, but people are still spending money. So I'm not sure what you're trying to achieve. But I'm sure you guys have got that there as well.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. Universal problem right now.
Yeah. So Josh, before we wrap up today, I want to ask, obviously with all particular projects of this caliber, there's always challenges that people face in what they deliver. What's one of the biggest challenges that you faced with launching this sort of product in the marketplace?
I would say it's a good question. I would say one is probably education. Something I kind of dealt with in the food delivery space too, with a lot of restaurants, and I would say it is such new technology, and it's an older industry, right? In terms of technology adoption, in terms of process and all those things. So I'd say a big challenge was definitely kind of validating the technology and, does this work? So I think things have been done the same way for so long in the industry. Really that openness to kind of explore new options. And so, and kind of how marketing fits within some of the larger manufacturers, right? Like the marketing was traditionally like, I'm drawing a blank here. Displays in showrooms, right? Displays in showrooms, and getting into some of the big box retailers. And so more emphasis was always on that and less kind of on your traditional marketing, right? Like social media and so many of those things. And so I think part of it is the challenge was just the evolution of the industry. And maybe, I don't want to say we were before the times, but I would say like kind of moving with the big social media push and the big push towards content, right? And when people are buying, they want to see content now, right? They want to see what something looks like in their home. Like they want engaging content. And so one of the big challenges was definitely education, right? Like, hey, this tool is great, but what does it do? Like, we start talking about conversion, and we start talking about, CTAs and all of these types of things. And in some instances, a lot of that language is new for some people. So I would say that would be one of the bigger challenges, just from like an adoption standpoint, I would say. Not only that, but at the retail level. So we, a good way to think about our business, we use the car dealership analogy. And so if you're going to buy a car, say I'm going to buy a Volkswagen, I go to Volkswagen.com, and that's where I go look at product information, right? I want to learn about a car. That's where I go to get my product information. But I don't actually buy the car on Volkswagen.com. I mean, now you can, but let's assume you can't do that. You actually go into a local retailer to buy the product, right? And that could be a used car dealer, or that could actually be a Volkswagen dealership, right? And so one way our visualizer lives is on that manufacturer's website. But what happens when the customer goes into the showroom, right? And so we also have tools now where we can actually provide visualization at the retail level as well. So say you're a big manufacturer, go there. You can actually go to the retailer's website now and also look at that product information. So one of the challenges there is getting that adoption at the retail level. So not only do we
Mm.
need the visualizer on the retailer's website, but actually getting people in the showroom. So you think about RSAs and getting them to also adopt the technology and use it in their sales pitch is also a challenge, because now you're dealing with training and you're dealing with, people and implementation, new tools. So I would say that's also been kind of one of the bigger challenges, kind of adoption at the retail level, right? Because online is great. People still want to go in and touch and feel the product, right? They still go into the showroom. So how can we actually get that integrated more deeply into the retail level and where people actually buy the product? I would say that would be kind of broader. I would say other challenges I would say too is, more internally, just being a company that's growing really, really quickly. It's hard. It's really challenging, right? And so we've been super fortunate. We've grown a ton. We've brought on a ton of new customers, but with that is you got to take care of those customers. So you have to grow the business and scale the business. So, we've been through some challenging times of growth. We learned a lot. Sometimes, hyper growth is awesome, but it also comes with its other challenges. So I would just say also, like, our business growing and evolving to be able to, handle the increased demand for our product was also a challenge. I think we've done a great job, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? It's
No.
that growth's awesome, but it doesn't mean there aren't things you need to continuously work on internally too. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say there's the internal and there's the external. There's kind of two components I would say there.
What does the future look like for you guys? Have you got some big plans coming up in the next few years?
Yeah, so the big one for us, we just launched paint visualization actually just last week, and so that's a huge one for us. From a technology standpoint, all other products, you're replacing an existing substrate, right? You're putting tile on the wall, you're replacing the drywall, and so paint is very different because you actually have to take those textures from what you're painting on. So think of stain, right? We don't do stain yet, hopefully very soon, but you know what I mean? You're taking the grain from below, you paint a brick wall, you want to still maintain the texture behind. So paint was a huge launch for us. We just got that out the last week.
Is that launched locally there?
Yeah, it's no, everywhere. So that's
everywhere.
Global,
Wow.
everyone. Yeah, everyone.
That's
we
cool.
actually have an Australian brand that's about to launch that I can't say quite yet, but we actually have a pretty big Australian brand that's soon to be live customer for us. So that's super exciting.
Excellent. Does that mean more trips for you to Australia?
I mean, my first, hopefully, one and more. But really, it's honestly continuously adding more products into the visualizer, right? New markets. Again, that's what the consumer is going to want to do. That is a win because that's where everyone wants to play, right?
Yeah.
Every tile manufacturer, everyone wants to play where the consumer's going, right? So the more we can provide to the consumer to bring more people in, that creates a win-win environment for everybody, for the installers, the retailers, everyone. So it's really just building on that ecosystem of more products, better quality visualization is really what we're focused on. But kind of that North Star still is always like a great, easy to use customer experience. It's kind of that thing we always overlay on top.
Man, that's awesome. Well, mate, your time today has been excellent. I really appreciate you sharing everything that you have. We always like to conclude our episodes with getting into some fast track questions, just so we can understand and get to know our guests a little bit better, because everyone's
hot seat here.
Yeah, it's like the fast four. Everyone's keen, but mate, look, I suppose let's start with, you've obviously been in business for quite some time. Who is probably some of your most influential mentors that you've grown up with that have helped shape who you are?
I would say great question. Jeez. I was pretty athletic growing up. So I would have to say, from a football perspective, American football, Barry Sanders. I played university football.
Oh, wow.
College
cool.
In the U.S. So that was like a huge. Now, and this might be controversial to some people, but I think Elon Musk, and not only because he kind of makes you believe that things that were impossible are possible, right? A lot of things that he does, and I don't necessarily agree with him as an individual, but he has crazy ambitious goals, and everyone says no, and he's really opened people's mind to like what is possible, especially in such a short time period, which I think is amazing. He's kind of taken conventional thought of timelines and expectations and kind of thrown them upside down.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
that's
do
awesome.
think like, when you look at SpaceX and some of the things all of his companies are doing, it's
Yeah.
just kind of that thought of like, it's actually amazing what you can accomplish. I think people
Mm,
undersell their abilities a lot.
mm.
And I think he's dealt with that a lot. So it's cool to see.
Yeah. How's the saying go? You can underestimate what you can accomplish in a day, but you can, or something about how you can, I'm sure. I don't know how it goes, but yeah.
You overestimate
Over,
what you can do in a day, but you underestimate how much you can do in a year. I think
yeah,
is what
that's
it
right.
is.
Yes. I was reading that. I actually read that quote yesterday. I was like, I still really enjoy seeing that pop up in everything that I look at. So, um, cool. Hey, so tell me about your day. How do you kick off? How do you get started? What's your morning routine like?
So my morning routine is I'm up early. I work out every morning. 5 o'clock, I'm in the gym. After the gym, it's always breakfast. I always start my day with actually planning my day. I don't jump into my emails right away because I find that you can just get lost in the email shuffle. So I typically always have a list of like, what are things that I have to get done today before I dive into email, because I find that can definitely become a black hole and you lose your day pretty quickly. Um, but yeah, like that's kind of, I guess, my day. I tend to be on, and then
Cool.
nighttime is it's kind of turn off. I try to make it a priority to spend time with family and turn my device off at 8 o'clock. It's like no more. I'm done for the day, and
Awesome.
really try and find time to disconnect. I mean, it's work a pretty busy job, I would say, and I think exercise is such an important part of being able to get that stress relief. And then I think at nighttime too, just being able to disconnect and say, hey, you know what, like the day is over, because we're a remote company, and also it's working from home is quite challenging, where it's hard to disconnect sometimes too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Cool. Tell me, you've obviously done a bit of travel around the world. What's one of the favorite? What's one of your more favorite destinations that you visited?
Honestly, I just was in Vienna. I traveled a ton over the last few years, and Vienna was, we were at a trade show. It's called BAU in Germany, a
Oh
huge
yeah,
conference there. So we were just there. And so I extended 2 days to go to Vienna. And I would say,
yeah.
no question about it, the architecture, the history. I spent 48 hours there, and I think we walked 50 kilometers over the 2 days just to see as much as we could. But I've been fortunate to go to a lot of really cool places. And I mean, always travel for work, and I always take at least an extra 24 hours and just maximize and see as much as I possibly can within that 24 to 48 hour window. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But
I like it.
Australia have been, so that might be top of my list. I don't know.
Well, mate, when you get here, give me a warning, and I'll make sure I'm available. There's
Yeah.
always time for a
I know
coffee.
I'm a huge coffee lover, and I know
Yeah.
Australia has the best coffee in the world. So that's one thing I know for sure.
Yeah, look, I'm still I'm still amazed that when I every try, because I've been to America about 4 or 5 times now, probably more. And every time I go there, it's just so hard to find a decent coffee. And I was in February, my partner and I were there, and I went to a fair called Surfaces in Vegas.
Yeah. So
So I
I
was
was there. Yeah, we
yeah,
were there too. Yeah.
yeah. So that's where sort of the connection all began. And
Yeah.
throughout excuse me, throughout Vegas, obviously, there's no decent coffee anywhere. Uh, there's, but when we went to San Francisco, we found a coffee place on like the second last day before we were coming home, and it was really awesome. I wouldn't say it was better than anything they've had back home, but it was way better than Starbucks and some of the other major brands which have a monopoly on coffee that they can't really make great coffee. It's just like I don't get it.
Yeah. I'm probably similar to you that I call myself a coffee snob. I like a nice single origin bean, and like a nice filter.
Yeah.
I love my coffee. A friend of mine was just there recently and brought back a bunch of beans for me. So
Ah, nice.
uh, yeah, he's in Brisbane, so I was spoiled with a couple bags of coffee, which was nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, look, mate, one last question, and then we'll wrap things up for today. It's been amazing. If you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Not even a question. It's a hamburger through and through.
Yeah, wow.
Uh, I have to ask you back. What's yours?
Oh man, look, I love steak. Like it'd have to be eye fillet. Just
Yeah.
yeah, I love steak. It's just it's ugh. Incredible. I'm a big barbecue fan, so love cooking the barbecue. So
yeah, me too. So burgers are like, everywhere I go, I get a burger. That's my thing too. So every new city I go to, I got to check out the best burgers. So
nice, awesome. Well, we get some good joints here.
Get that list ready for when I'm there.
Yeah,
I need to know that best burger joint when I get there. So
absolutely. Josh, obviously we're going to put a bio together in the show notes, which we love to do, and share as much information as we can with our broader community. If people wanted to connect in with you directly and or find out more about Roomvo and Leap Tools and the company, how do they do that? What's the best method?
So best method, if you're just looking for info, leaptools.com, leaptools.com. You'll probably put that in the notes. Roomvo.com. So that's information about us. You can reach me on LinkedIn, Josh Ruff. You'll find me pretty easily there. There aren't too many people with similar names. And then email to jruff@leaptools. Anyone can feel free to reach out to me anytime, and you can include those in the show notes as well. So feel free to reach out to anybody with questions, comments. Always happy to hop on a call as well with anybody.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Hey, look, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks for sharing so much and giving us a real good look at the visualizer and what Roomvo is doing. And it's great that we're in the Australian market through those couple of different channels. And I'm sure, there's even probably a brighter future for you guys, because now that Bunnings is a big part of the Beaumont's group, I'm sure that, at some point that may transcend into their business as well. So it'll be on every street corner. But mate, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. And until next time, mate, stay connected.
Awesome. Thanks so much.